this video, I wanted to see if I could beat a hardcore Soul Link of Pokemon Black. For this video, I'll be teaming up with my girlfriend Indy to see if we can get through a hardcore Nuzlocke together. If you've never heard of the Soul Link, it's basically a two-player version of the hardcore Nuzlocke, so as well as playing by standard hardcore Nuzlocke rules, mine and Indy's encounters will be linked together, meaning that if one Pokemon faints, so does the other. This means getting through Unova this time around is going to be a joint effort, and I have no idea how far we're gonna get.
Let's not waste any more time then.
And see if we've got what it takes to become champions. So jumping into this run then, we get to pick our starters. I have decided to randomize our encounters for this run, but not train a Pokemon. That way, we'll be able to find a lot more unique encounters rather than the normal Gen 5 Pokemon, while also having the game still be a challenge. So let's see what we end up for starters. Looks like I get the choice between a Slakoth, a Vanillite, and a Totodile. To be honest, that's a pretty decent bunch. I wonder what Indy has gotten.
I got a monkey and an ice cream cone and a Totodile.
Well, if you're wondering what that noise was, it was the sound of someone getting their favourite Pokemon as their starter. Indy is clearly off to a lucky start, not that I can complain, because Totodile is a pretty decent start if nothing else, and unlike a certain other Johto starter, Totodile at least isn't on a watch list. With Pallet and Sycamore at our sides then, we can set out on our journey. And despite both of these starters being fairly good, I am slightly worried about Indy finding a Charmander. Like, if Sycamore dies, there's a very good chance this run might die with it due to how much Indy loves these little fire lizards. Not a lot I can do about that now though, so let's go grab some early game encounters. Firstly, on Route 1, I find a Mareep I named Viridian, while Indy finds a Cherubi she names Elm. Then heading on to Route 2, I'm able to find a rock I name Pewter, while Indy finds a much less useful ladybug she names Colrus. That's two decent pairings and one mediocre one, meaning we're able to push on towards Straighton City. Running over to the Dream Yard, we're both able to grab one more encounter. I get a Zubat I name Cerulean, and for some strange reason, it takes Indy a while to find her monkey replacement.
It doesn't bode well.
Wait, where'd you get the monkey from?
If you go left, north,
Oh, left.
east from the town.
I went into the Dream Yard.
No. Yeah, if you head that direction.
So yeah, as I said, no idea why it took her so long to find her monkey.
Eventually though, Indy gets a Whalmer she names Birch. Cerulean couldn't have come at a better point, because now we both have a direct counter to Chilean and his grass monkey. It's Thirst Gym time, and Chilean can often be slightly scary due to workup, but neither me nor Indy have any problems with this fight. I'm able to take down Chilean's pup with Pewter, while Indy's Charmander burns the pup to a crisp. Then the grass monkey comes out, and while it does take Cerulean a lot longer to take down the grass monkey when compared to Sycamore, we're both able to get through this fight with no issues. That's our Thirst Gym badge 1 then. This run is off to a good start. Before we carry on though, I would like to do some shameless self-plugging, so remember to leave a like on this video if you've been enjoying so far, and subscribe to never miss a video. I've also got channel memberships available if you want to support Indy's addiction to Pokemon plushies. With that out of the way, let's carry on with the run. So moving on from that, we're both able to evolve a couple of our Pokemon. We're both then able to grab some more encounters along the way. Firstly, in the Dream Yard, I find a Paras I named Lavender, while Indy decides to copy me and finds a Croconaw she names Kukui. Shame Croconaw is stuck being matched up with something as useless as Paras, but at least one of us got a decent Pokemon. After a quick rival battle with Cheran, we're able to find another encounter. I find a Litwick on Route 4, while Indy finds a... Oh, what are the chances? Well, we decided it's best for Indy to re-roll this encounter as she already has a fire type, so I get to keep the Litwick I name Celadon, while Indy catches a Talo she names Rowan. Next we make our way into Wellspring Cave, where I find an underwhelming Pikachu. I wonder how it's going for my Soul Link partner. Yeah, she just made that noise again because she found another of her favourite Pokemon, this time a Gibble. At this point I'd like to call bullshit, because not only is she finding her favourites, but they're also really strong. I suppose I can't complain because, you know, we're on the same team, but I would like some decent Pokemon at some point. Maybe, please? Oh, okay then. Right, I can see how this run is going to play out. That just leaves one more encounter, and Indy's luck continues as she grabs a Cottony she names Juniper. My encounter isn't as strong, but it's not actually half bad, as I find a Mushana I name Sathron. It's then just a case of beating up N for being a evolving some of our Pokemon, and before we know it, it's time for our second gym battle of the run. Now, Lenora and her normal types are often pretty difficult, but at least I have some decent counters thanks to my rock and ghost types. Indy, however, does not. So let's see how this goes. I start with Fuchsia, while Lenora starts with her pup. A single gem boosted Thunder Shock does a lot of damage and gets the paralysis, which is good because takedown from Herdia does a lot in response. Thankfully, a second Thunder Shock easily takes down the pup. Then the ugly Meerkat comes out, and thanks to Retaliate, this lanky thing is a huge threat. Thankfully, I've got Celadon, who can come in completely safely. I then switch into Viridian on a Hypnosis, which is cured by a Berry. I then get off a Thunder Shock that does basically nothing. Right, new plan, so I switch back into Celadon. I then decide to take a bit of the risk and try to land a Will-O-Wisp. Obviously, this could go very, very wrong if a Crunch does a lot or I miss, but I decide to roll the dice and my plan pays off and I cripple the Watchog. Perfect. From there, Pewter is completely safe to slowly KO the Watchog. I got pretty lucky there. Let's see how things went for Indy. Well, I clearly got all of the luck when it came to battles, while Indy got the encounter luck. 2 gyms down, 6 to go. Before we can carry on with our adventure, Team Plasma decides to steal the skull of what is clearly a Dragonite, meaning we have a slight detour before making our way to Castelia. At least along the way, we're able to find some more encounters, as I find a Curlier I name, oh, oops. Well, I hope Indy didn't want that matchup that badly. Thanks to Berg's help though, we're able to take back the skull from Team Plasma, and that means we can carry on towards Castelia. One more encounter to grab then before the next gym, as we can make our way to Route 4.
You ready?
I apologise, I ran into the sand already.
Oh, I did as well. I got such a fantastic encounter.
Same!
I got a Purloin.
I got Bonsly.
I mean, at least Bonsai's kind of useful.
Kind of.
I mean, it's... Sudowoodo is not terrible. More useful than Purloin.
Yeah, but then it evolves into Perugly.
Remember, if you say something with confidence, it makes it true. Anyway, we've now got another gym leader to take down, this time Berg and his bug types. Honestly though, because I'm able to evolve Golbat into Crobat right before this gym, and Indy has her Charmeleon, this fight is a complete cakewalk for both of us. Nice easy third gym, shame that was the last freebie for a while. As a reward for getting past that super difficult gym, both me and Indy get a couple more evolutions. We can then head to the desert resort where we find another useful pairing. I find a Bronzor, while Indy finds an equally tanky Shelder. We can then carry on to Nimbasa City, where our next batch of encounters awaits. Unfortunately, someone's footage at this point disappeared. This means you can only see what I caught, which is unfortunate because it's literal garbage, while someone else gets a Marshtomp. That doesn't seem fair. At least my next encounter is slightly more exciting, as I find a Yamask I name Azel, while Indy finds a Patrat. Pretty underwhelming selection of encounters, honestly, and that's a shame, because before we know it, we get through our awkward Ferris wheel date with N, meaning it's time for Elisa and her electric types. Indy is pretty well set up for this gym once Lysander evolves into Sudowoodo, as Indy's Rock Tree and Water Starter are able to take down the first Emolga, and then Gabite completely destroys the rest of this electric gym battle. I'm unfortunately probably going to have a much harder time with this gym thanks to my lack of ground types, so let's see how this goes. Elisa starts with her Emolga, and I start with Boldor. Now I'm 90% sure Emolga is going to go through a Volt Switch here, so I switch into Fuchsia. This works perfectly as I'm able to get my Raichu in for 3. You may question what the point of that was, but strangely, my electric type is the only one of my Pokemon that can learn Dig. This means after taking a Flame Charge, my electric mouse can KO the spiky horse with a gem boosted Dig. Perfect. Up next for Elisa is her Flying Rat, but thanks to an Eviolite, Boldor can keep spamming Smackdowns, and eventually the final 2 of Elisa's Pokemon Pokemon Thule. That wasn't actually as bad as I thought it was going to be. Get Elisa. Moving on from Nimbasa, after fully evolving my starter Pokemon into a big old crocodile, we're able to find a decent pair of encounters on the bridge into Driftvale. I find a Snowther I name Ekritique, and Indy finds a Chinchou she names Rose. Now obviously, Lantern is a lot stronger than Snowther, so I'm hoping I get some decent Pokemon with our next two encounters. Okay, well Pansage is alright I suppose. Wonder what Indy got.
Pokemon.
Route 6, give me Pokemon. What have I got?
Oh, good. Guess what I got?
What did you get?
I got a monkey.
I got a Bagon.
Are you kidding me? Game, give me something decent. Maybe I can find something at the cold storage. Okay, well Gen 5 just clearly hates me. At least we're able to find the Frozen Team Plasma without any issues in the cold storage. All that leaves then is the next gym. We both just have to evolve a couple of our Pokemon and witness Team Plasma try to burn down Clay's gym before it's time for our 5th gym battle of the run. Clay is always a pretty major threat to any black and white run, but thankfully I've done this fight enough to handle it pretty easily. I one-shot the Crocorock with a Seed Bomb, and then the scary Excadrill comes out. I decide my best bet is just to be as aggressive as possible, so I immediately switch into Pallet, who takes a Bulldoze. Now, not even a crit can threaten me here, so I'm safe to get off a gem-boosted Scald for the one-shot. All that leaves is Palpitoad, who I can easily also one-shot with Olivine. Pretty easy gym fight for me. Unfortunately, things don't go as well for Indy, and it's actually kind of my fault. So Indy starts off with Birch, while Clay once again starts off with Crocorock. Crocorock is once again one-shot, but is able to get off the Torment. This means Indy isn't able to get off the Water Pulse when the Excadrill comes in, and instead only gets off a Water Gun that does crit, but unfortunately fails to KO the scary mole. Clay then uses one of his Hyper Potions, as Water Pulse brings the mole to below half. Excadrill is then able to get off the Rock Slide that does massive damage, and unfortunately, Birch just misses the KO by what looks like less than 10 HP. So close. Here's where the comes in, because Indy debates switching, and I kind of give her the wrong advice. Obviously, I can't see her screen, but she suggests sending in Gabite, who is holding an Eviolite. Honestly, this would have probably been her best bet, considering Excadrill is going to keep going through Rock Slides. However, I misunderstand the situation and advise just letting Birch go down through a 3 switch. This backfires massively, as Birch the Wailmer gets killed, and then so does Willow the Marsh Stomp. Oops, much harder to give advice than it is to actually play, clearly. Thankfully, eventually Indy does bring down the mole with Dragon Rage, but I do feel a bit bad that my advice got 2 of our pairs killed. Suppose it happens. At least the rest of the fight is a breeze, as Indy is able to bring down the Palpitoad with Whimsicott. With that, we've beaten Clay. I suppose losing 2 Pokemon to such a run ender isn't terrible, but I need to learn to keep my mouth shut. 5 gym badges down, 3 more to go. Carrying on towards our next gym battle, we do get a decent amount of encounters. In Chargestone Cave, we find our first pair, an Oshawott for me and a Voltorb for Indy. Then, after beating up N, because he's still and exiting Chargestone Cave, we can make our way to Route 7 and find another semi-decent pairing of Lillipup and Clefairy. Next, we make our way to the Spooky Ghost Tower, and I'm feeling pretty good about this run right now. We haven't had too many deaths, and we're building up our roster of Pokemon quite nicely. Still the most random Pokemon in the world that can fly.
Okay, game over, I lose.
Oh, well that's unfortunate. Remember at the start of this run where I said if Charmander dies, the run might die with it? Well, I'm not gonna lie, I was very worried about convincing Indy to carry on past this point. It's a very quiet walk back to Mistralton City, and while Skylar is a complete pushover for both of us thanks to our electric types, the mood of the run from this point has taken a turn for the worst. See, I've done enough Nuzlockes to become jaded whenever a Pokemon dies, and because of this, I mostly don't care, but Indy is not in the same boat, and losing Charmander was clearly very devastating. Thankfully, after a break, we do carry on, and we get a lot more encounters at this point, so I'm hoping that these Pokemon can return some of the enthusiasm Indy had for this run. Thanks to Surf, we're able to backtrack to Mistrolton Cave. Now, it should be easy enough to find our 2 encounters here, but for some reason, Indy's game kind of breaks. That's fine though, because after we catch our Tentacool and Shelmet, I use my amazing directional skills to guide her. That goes about as well as you'd expect. Eventually though, we do make it to the guidance chamber, where we find a useful pairing of Magnemite and Chikorita. We can then backtrack even further, and by surfing on Route 1, we can make it to Route 17. Here we find a very useful Torchic, while Indy finds a Finneon. Maybe our encounter luck is switching. Carrying on with our backtracking adventure, we're able to find one more pair, and it's actually one of the strongest we've gotten. I find an Aron, while Indy finds a Slackoth. Talk about power. We can then head back to Twist Mountain, and our luck continues as I'm able to find a Slowpoke, while Indy finds an ultra-powerful Darmanitan. It's then a simple case of making our way through Twist Mountain. Someone does have a slight issue with the bulk up throw, and losing Lantern sucks, but you know, it happens. That just leaves 2 more pairings before our next gym fight, and only one of these pairings is notable. I'm able to find a Wartortle, while Indy finds a Meowth. Okay, I'll be honest, that last pairing might have only been notable for me, but I'm not going to complain about a 3 Blastoise. With that, we've got another gym battle to get through, and shockingly, we've both got really strong fire types, so this won't go down as one of the most exciting battles in Pokemon history. Get wrecked, Bryson. Nothing else we can do though, apart from start pushing onto the endgame, and that means defeating 1,000,000 Team Plasma Grunts. This wouldn't be so bad, but we do have a slight domestic about directions again. Oops, I have no idea where you are.
I walked into the desert from Nimbasa. I can't walk any further north than that.
Oh yeah, you've got to go to the desert resort, the area.
You never said the desert resort.
I did?
No, you did not.
I said walk into the desert, which that is
You
the desert.
said
The
walk
desert.
into the desert, which I
Yeah,
did.
No,
No, there's a difference
Route
between
4
the
is...
there's a difference between the desert and a desert resort.
The
I
desert
figured
resort
when-
is literally the desert.
I thought you said
That
when
is the
desert.
desert.
That's just Route 4.
No. It's just also on your map.
You help me bringing the map up. That takes forever.
It's not my fault you can't follow my directions where I say go to the desert.
I'm in the desert.
Route 4 is not the desert.
Route 4 looks like the desert.
It's just sandy.
Yeah, the desert then.
I'll be honest, this conversation goes on for a while. Probably for the best, we just move on.
We have a final gym battle to deal with, and unlike the last couple of gyms, this one is anything but 3. Drayden's dragons are always scary, especially because they like to set up with Dragon Dance. Thankfully, I have Petalburg, who I'm hoping can survive long enough to score me another win. So I start with my Iron Monster, and Drayden starts with Thraxis. Despite an attack boost from Dragon Dance, Drayden's Thirst Pokemon only survives long enough to get off a Dragon Rage, meaning I can pick up a mostly painless Thirst KO. Second is Druddigon, who has Revenge. Now Revenge is threatening enough to where I need to switch here, so I send in Blackthorn for an Intimidate. Even with an Intimidate, this Lego Dragon is kind of scary, as a gem boosted Retaliate fails to do much. Blackthorn should be able to take another hit here at least. I actually got a lucky crit. How about that? All that leaves then is Haxorus, so I switch into Petalburg as the Haxorus starts setting up. While Ironhead is doing a lot of damage, unfortunately a Hyper Potion stops me KOing this monster dragon before it starts attacking. Luckily though, Petalburg is still able to bring the Haxorus back down into the red before I'm forced to switch thanks to a Dragon Tail. The dragon is at +4 attack at this point, so if my Blastoise can't survive a single hit, I could be in a lot of trouble. I have to hope this works, and Haxorus gets greedy. God, I just got so lucky. I hope Indy's battle went as well. Seems that someone had an easy gym fight, at least. Well, with that, we've both managed to collect all 8 gym badges, and that means after a quick final battle with Cheran and a quick run through Victory Road, it's time to face off against the Elite Four. Now, this you know that Elite Four is never easy, and building a team that allows us both to take down this league is quite the challenge. Eventually, though, we settle on 6 pairs, so let's see who we're bringing. So our first pairing is Liepard and Sudowoodo, second is Aggron and Slackoth, third we've got Raichu and Garchomp, Fourth is Mushana and Whimsicott. Fifth is Slowbro and Darumaka. And then last but by no means least, we've got Pansage and Salamence. We've got some really strong pairs going into this Elite Four. Let's go see if there are enough to take us all the way. Remember to leave a like to wish us luck. Let's go in this. So first up for this Elite Four is Chantel, the Ghost type trainer. Chantel starts with her spooky ghost coffin, while I start with Fuchsia. 2 Thunderbolts take down the first of Chantel's Pokemon, while my electric rodent only has to take a Will-O-Wisp. Second is Golurk, so I switch into Olivine. Of course, I get crit on the switch, but my monkey is best monkey, as Olivine is able to survive the hit and then get off a gem-boosted Seed Bomb for the one-shot. Third is Chandelure, so I switch through Dewford to get Nubark in safely. A gem-boosted Night Slash is then enough for a one-shot. All that leaves for Chantel is Jellicent, and thanks to a burn from the Chandelure, I'm actually in a slightly awkward spot. None of my Pokemon can handle this big stupid jellyfish particularly well, so I'm just gonna have to hope Fuchsia can one-shot. I take a lot from a Surf on the switch, and that did so much damage, I actually changed my mind about trying to one-shot with Fuchsia. Instead, I go through a Volt Switch for decent damage, and then go into Olivine, before I just pray that my monkey can survive. Okay, cutting that a little close, but with that I can end this fight with a Seed Bomb. That was so lucky. Second to this Elite Four is Grimsley, who honestly is never really a challenge, so I'm not expecting much trouble here. So Grimsley starts with Scrafty, and I once again start with Fuchsia. Thanks to Sand Attack and a Full Restore, I do struggle to KO this stupid fighting type with Thunderbolts, but eventually enough attacks get through, and Grimsley's first Pokemon goes down. Second is Crocodile, so I switch into Olivine. A single Seed Bomb should now be enough to one-shot. Jesus Christ, crits everywhere in this league. At least my monkey survived. Despite that close call, Grimsley is now down to his last 2 Pokemon, both of whom go down pretty easily. 2 down, 2 to go. Up next is Caitlin, who starts with her Psychic Cell monster, who I don't want to name, while I start with Sathron. Sathron does have to take a couple of hard thunders, but thanks to a Yawn, the Psychic type is quickly put to sleep. I can now safely send in Olivine and KO with Seed Bombs. Second is Sigilyph, who threatens with Air Slash, so I switch into Petalburg. Petalburg actually has kinda low special defense, so Psychic still does a huge amount. Despite this, I am able to KO the Sigilyph with Rock Slides. Third for Caitlin is Gothitelle. I immediately switch into my cat, Nubark, and take a decently hard Thunderbolt. I then get lucky with a crit, meaning a single Night Slash takes down the Psychic type. All that leaves then is Mushana. I wonder how our handle. Oh, another crit. Well, that's unexpected, but not gonna complain. Now, you might be wondering how Indy's getting on with this Elite Four so far. Yeah, turns out when you have the Salamence and a Darmanitan, Chantel and Grimsley aren't exactly difficult. Unfortunately, Indy does have a slight problem with Caitlin, and that's all because of Sigilyph. Garchomp and Salamence easily make quick work of most of their team, but Sigilyph threatens with Ice Beam. Because of this, she gets put into a slightly awkward situation and loses longtime member of the team, Sudowoodo. This honestly isn't the end of the world, because it's not like Sudowoodo or his pairing Liepard were going to be particularly useful against Marshall, but losing a pair always sucks. All that leaves then for this Elite Four is Marshall, and I often find him the most difficult member of this Elite Four. My team is stacked with counters though, so let's see how this goes. Marshall starts with Throw, and I start with Olivine. 2 Seed Bombs are enough for an easy first KO after my monkey takes a Stone Edge. Second is Marshall's Kung Fu Cat, so I switch into Dewford. Annoyingly, on the switch, I get hit by a U-turn, meaning my Slowbro is now facing down Swak. Sathron pretty heavily walls this fighting type though, so I switch again, this time on a Stone Edge that misses. Thanks to Sturdy and Full Restores, it does take Sathron a while to pick up the KO here, but eventually my Dream Pig is able to pick up a second KO while dodging another Stone Edge. Third, the cat comes back out. Jump Kick hurts my Psychic type a lot, but a single crit Side Beam gets me another KO. All that leaves is Conkeldurr, and I score another crit for the win. Jesus, apparently I've been saving all my crits for this Elite Four.
Now, this isn't going to be a surprise to anyone, but having a Salamence makes Marshall a complete joke.
Well, we've done it. The Elite Four is down and we've only lost Sudowoodo and Liepard. Overall, that was a complete success. We decided to switch out our dead pair for my Magnemite and Indy's Chikorita. Now we've got a full team again, meaning it's time for our final battle. It's time to take down N and Ghetsis. N starts with Zekrom, and I start with Oldale. Thanks to an Eviolite, Zekrom really can't threaten my Magnet, meaning I'm completely safe to get off with Thunder Wave. Despite this, I don't really have a way to threaten this scary dragon, so I decide on Petalburg, who can hopefully take a couple of hits. Even with Petalburg's high defense though, Fusion Bolt is still doing a massive amount. Thankfully, because of Protect, I can stop Petalburg taking too many hits before my Iron Godzilla finally KOs N's legendary dragon. Second is Clink Clang, and I'm 90% sure I'm facing Zoroark here. I decide to test this with a Protect, and it turns out I'm correct. Because of this, I decide to switch into Doothard on a Focus Blast. I do then have to take a nasty Night Slash before very nearly one-shotting with a gem boosted Surf. I now know N will go through a Thor Restore, so I take the turn to heal with a Slack Off. Another Night Slash and Surf brings us right back to where we were. Because of this, I switch through Petalburg into Fuchsia, and then, after taking a hard Focus Blast, we take down the Zoroark with a Thunderbolt. Up next is the real Clink, so I go through a Volt Switch, and I actually get another crit, scoring an easy one-shot. I then have to make an educated guess that Oldale will be a good switch here. Thankfully, I picked correctly, as N sends out his Caracosta. I'm in the perfect position here to KO this overgrown turtle with a Volt Switch and then a Seed Bomb from Olivine. All that leaves is N's bird and his ice cream cone, both of whom can't stand up to my magnet, meaning this fight is pretty much over. Wondering how Indy dealt with N? Yeah, she pretty much one or two shots every single one of this Pokemon without any issues. I'm very jealous of their team, I won't lie. That proved, if nothing else, it's beyond debate at this point, N is still a... We both had a pretty chill time with that. Let's go take down Ghetsis. So Ghetsis starts with his Coffin, while I once again start with Oldale. My magnet is able to cripple the Coffin with a Thunder Wave, and then slowly wear down the Cothagrigus with Thunderbolts. Second is Bouthalon, who threatens with Earthquake, so I switch into Olivine. Olivine then gets off the Seed Bomb before taking a head charge. Jesus, that did a lot. Okay, well that sucks, but at least after taking another head charge, Sathron can come in and take down the Bull. Third for Ghetsis is Bisharp, so I decide to switch into Fuchsia. Annoyingly, Bisharp hits really hard before I'm able to get off an attack. Because of this, I decide to play it safe and Volt Switch into Oldale. My magnet walls the Bisharp pretty hard, so I'm safe to get off a Thunderbolt that annoyingly just misses the KO. Okay, let's try that again. Fourth is Seismitoad, and I've lost my counter in Olivine here, so instead I have to rely on Doothard. This actually works pretty well, because thanks to Toxic and Slack Off, I'm able to stall the Fat Toad to death. Fifth is Electros, and Toxic Stalling works so well against the Seismitoad, I decide to do it again. This doesn't work perfectly, because I do get unlucky on a switch into Oldale and get nailed by a Flamethrower. Rest in peace, my Zappy magnet. Sucks, but at least Petalburg is then able to survive long enough thanks to Protect, meaning that the eel goes down to poison. All that leaves the Ghetsis then is his terrifying Hydreigon, and my remaining Pokemon are really beat up at this point. You'll also notice that I don't really have any counters to this thing. You might be wondering then what the plan is here, and that's right, more Toxic Stalling. Doothard is able to take Dragon Pulses long enough to get off the poison. Then, thanks to Moonlight, Sathron is able to keep herself healthy enough to eventually outlast the dragon. Not the most noble win, but a win's a win. All that means to take the victory then is for my Soul Link partner to finish off Ghetsis, and we've won. Let's see how she does. She starts with her ever-reliable Garchomp, while Ghetsis starts with his Ghost Coffin. A single crunch does fail to KO, but Cothagrigus just misses a Toxic. This means Indy's Favorite Dragon can pick up an easy first KO. Second, Ghetsis goes all in with Hydreigon, and unfortunately, Garchomp just misses the KO by literally no HP. A single Dragon Pulse then takes down Garchomp. Rest in peace, buddy. I would say you were the glue that held Indy's team together, but she still does have a Salamence, so it's clearly not all bad. Third is Bisharp, who is walled by Silver, and then one shot with a Fire Punch. Fourth is Bouthalon, who very nearly KOs with a head charge after Darmanitan misses a Hammer Arm. You'd think this would mean she would switch, but she does something I've done many times. She says it and goes all in. This actually works as Darmanitan one-shots the stupid curly cow. I'm so proud. Fifth is Seismitoad, who can't stand up to Maxi, who scores another easy KO. All that leaves then is Electros, who does manage to take down Darmanitan and Meganium, but finally goes down to Olena. For someone that doesn't Nuzlocke very much at all, or know Gen 5 that well, that was pretty smooth. What a fun run. Me and Indy both really enjoyed playing through this Soul Link, so if you want to see more, remember to leave a like on the video and comment on what game we should try and Soul Link next. Thanks so much for watching, guys. I'll see you all next time.